So if you've been looking to move to northern Colorado and Loveland has hit your radar, we've got a few things today that I wish I would have known before I moved here.
All right, let's go. If you're new to our channel, you're Colorado Real Estate Family here, and if you're interested in moving to Colorado, Denver, or any of the surrounding cities, we're the people that you need to know. So do yourself a favor, hit the subscribe button, notification bell down below. We'll also throw in our phone number. We are answering these questions from you guys every single day. So we have a really good video. We brought in our partner up north, Elena, and we're gonna be talking about kind of her experience because a lot of you are looking into Loveland, and rightfully so. Loveland is blowing up. But today we're gonna be talking about some of those things that might have kind of swayed that decision on whether or not Loveland was for her. Let's go ahead and dive in. Okay, so after talking with you a little bit and trying to come together and tell all these people about the things you wish you would have known, the first one that we kind of narrowed it down to was perception. So tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, it's so funny. I've been here for several years now in northern Colorado, and this one thing I don't know why I didn't pick up on it, but Fort Collins people have this idea about Loveland being kind of ghetto or the hood, and I didn't really realize that until I was in my home in downtown Loveland, and I'm looking around like it kind of does have a little bit of a hood feel to it, depending upon which area in Loveland you're looking, of course. And I picked one like smack dab in the middle of it. So I'm embracing it. I love it. There's nothing that makes me feel unsafe or anything like that. But it was definitely one of those I didn't think about that.
Well, and I think it's really important to understand the perception of this because a lot of this perception is coming from Fort Collins, right? And so Fort Collins, Loveland is I don't even want to say little sister, maybe stepsister, okay? Of
even worse.
Do you think it will do? Grandmother, she can't. No, you can't. Girls, please.
I'm just saying, I don't think Fort Collins has just completely owned it yet. And other places, when we talk about Boulder to Longmont and that being the little sister. We talk about this a lot. Go check out some of our other videos that cover the whole Longmont Boulder thing. But Fort Collins just has not embraced this yet. But in reality, Fort Collins, because it's being so popular, some of these other cities, surrounding cities, are blowing up. And we're starting to see the area that Fort Collins is known for spreading outward and changing these surrounding areas. However, it's not a quick thing.
No.
And we even had a client recently kind of talk about the school systems. If you guys haven't checked out our recent school systems, go check it out because one thing you will learn is that Fort Collins School District, Poudre Valley, or Poudre School District, is actually one of the top rated in the state. So let's talk a little bit about that because we've had a lot of you say, well, we do have a family or we are interested in the schools. So talk a little bit about that and how that plays into the perception.
Right. So it's interesting to think about Fort Collins in it being so close to Loveland. I mean, we've talked about how it's kind of just squeezing together and there's still a clear definition, but it's getting closer and closer. Now, think about, let's say your brother and sister and your brother always got the straight A's and everything and valedictorian and all of the crazy things, and then you're kind of just a B student.
C's get degrees.
Okay, I was saying B's, but still. So you're always going to be compared to that A plus, and I feel that's what's happening with Loveland. B plus is still a great rating. There's still good schools here.
Yes.
But being compared to Fort Collins is kind of one of those, oh yeah, it's a little bit of a bummer.
Right, you could do better kind of thing. And it even plays into the funding, right?
It does. So one of the perceptions actually is that property taxes will heavily impact the amount of money per student that schools get funding wise. Well, I did this whole research study on that. It turns out, even though there's a $46 million difference in the property taxes between Loveland and Fort Collins, the per pupil funding amount still equals out to the same because of the state regulations and the adjustment and all of that.
So there isn't any difference in the funding between schools.
No.
Which is crazy because they think that there's less going into Loveland.
Absolutely.
So real quick, for those of you who are new to our channel, Peter and I like to use niche.com just as kind of an overview, kind of trend setter. So just to kind of set things straight a little bit, when you're looking at Loveland, the overall grade is a B. When you're looking at Fort Collins, the overall grade is an A. B's across the board in Loveland is really good. So yes, is it worse than an A? Absolutely. So I think this really plays into your analogy of like this brother-sister thing, because there is no other city that you're gonna see that consistent B rating across the board. You'll see, C's and then A's and then obviously averaging out to a B. But to see B's all the way across the board is a still very strong school system. So definitely a misconception for sure.
Absolutely.
Kind of covered a little bit about how Fort Collins is starting to bleed into these surrounding cities and change these outer cities. And a lot of that comes with evolution. So talk to us about Loveland and that whole evolution that you kind of wish you knew.
Yeah, so the cool thing about where I live in downtown Loveland is you're getting to see a ton of new development and different things going on. And one of the big projects is the Draper, for instance, a multi-million-dollar project that's going in just down the way from me.
Yeah,
and then a couple houses up, actually, it was one of those scrapes, and they're putting in an 8-plex. So there's a lot of this new development coming in, and a lot of Loveland is really starting to evolve, even within the old part of Loveland in downtown, not just around the surrounding areas where you're seeing a lot of that new build construction coming in.
And the cool thing about all that development is that, well, and this is something I think is going to be kind of challenging for Fort Collins, is Loveland's going to be fairly new. Like all this development is going to be very new, whereas Fort Collins is kind of known as that old town kind of feel. So they're going to feel different, but they're going to start growing together and it's going to feel less separate. The other thing too is that Loveland has actually developed more going east and west than Fort Collins even has. Now Loveland is smaller, and so, maybe that's part of it, but Loveland goes all the way to Centerra.
Yep.
And so Loveland from the foothills, which we've talked about, kind of like the Mariana Butte. If you guys haven't checked out our best or top neighborhoods in Loveland, go check that out. We talk about some of these neighborhoods and how different they truly are. But we have Mariana Butte and some of those neighborhoods nestled up into the foothills, and then Loveland goes all the way to I-25 into Johnstown, where you almost don't know the difference. Where Fort Collins has that gap that they're still trying to fill up into that. So I think that that'll all kind of go together, and we'll start to see this big northern Colorado push, and the areas are going to start kind of looking more alike. The evolution of them is really going to change. It's going to be a little bit more cohesive, and we're not going to see such dramatic changes from city to city.
Right. The interesting things that you'll be able to find are going to be those little downtown spots and stuff, but everything kind of growing together is going to be that newer thing. So you're just it's going to kind of flow from one place to the next.
I think so too, for sure. Okay, so let's get into the third thing. So the third thing that you wish you knew.
So I chose downtown Loveland because I can walk out my back door and be at a restaurant or a bar, and everything walkability wise is just incredible. However, I have one trail next to me, and so I've started shifting in my life a little bit to focusing more on being healthy and all the boring stuff.
I love how you have a change of voice.
I know. I'm like not totally thrilled about not drinking as much beer, but I want to get out there and find more trails. I want to be able to walk out my front door and go run on a trail instead of run in the neighborhood.
Right.
Running in the neighborhood is great. The old bungalows and cottages and things are super cute.
Right.
But there's only so much of that I want to absorb before I want to get out on a trail or something. And now I'm realizing in downtown downtown Loveland, that I kind of have to drive to get to one of those.
Yeah, so I think this lifestyle concept of like really narrowing down what type of lifestyle you're trying to, achieve by moving here. Like it's not just about the house. It's all about lifestyle. It's about increasing quality of life, having the house and the area that you live in match exactly what you want your everyday life. And the thing about Loveland is there are 3 very dramatic different areas depending on what your lifestyle looks like. So we cover a little bit of this in the neighborhood thing, but you have the foothills where you have, endless biking trails, hiking trails, even some beautiful golf courses. I point to her because I don't golf, she does. And so golf courses, things like that. Then you have, like Elena was talking about, that downtown area where it's like walkability and, these are our foodies and like events and just like, social life, like right outside your door. And then we have kind of that lake life, that Centera life and with Boyd Lake and things like that. So if you don't know that in the different areas of Loveland, you might, get in an area that is, and it's not even that far. We talked about this, about being a little spoiled.
We're going to show you a map of the trails in Loveland because you're probably going to think I'm ridiculous because I have to drive to trails when in actuality, they're really not that far away.
Right.
But it's just, so Loveland is so tight and close-knit when it comes to like that front range that we were talking about with Mariana Butte.
Right.
The downtown area with all of the walkability, and then the Centera with the big box, the newer build, and Boyd Lake.
Right.
It really doesn't take very long to get from one place to the other. So I'm talking more about like being able to walk out my door and go do these things.
Right.
So keep that in mind because pretty much anywhere you end up in Loveland, if you're in Centera and you love to golf, going to Mariana Butte is not going to be a big deal. But if you want it in your backyard, that's something to think about.
Right, especially if you want to drive the golf cart over.
Yeah.
Like if Peter was here, like we just bought a house in Florida, guys, and there's like a golf cart community, and like there are people like, I want to drive my golf cart around, and if you're trying to do that, you need to be closer to the golf courses. So, and the other thing too about us Coloradans is that we're a little spoiled about this whole walkability. Like every city is trying to capture this like walkability lifestyle, like really matching it, and we take that very seriously. When you call us, we actually go through that, especially when you get a hold of me, I'm asking you like, what do you want your life to look like? And they're like, Chelsea, why are we not talking about houses? I'm like, we'll get to that, don't worry.
Stop thinking about what I want, what he wants, what your parents want. What do you want? What do you want?
It's not that simple.
But it's really important to get you to the right area because we want you to be able to live your day to day exactly the way you envision it. And if it doesn't mean driving 20 minutes to the foothills, then we shouldn't have to drive 20 minutes to the foothills. So yes, we're spoiled. And if you're in northern Colorado, you're going to be pretty close to the foothills. So it's definitely not an issue if you're willing to drive. But it's still something to talk about because now she's having to drive over and she's like, man, is the walkability and the restaurants as important when I'm home making meals and trying to catch a trail? So definitely something to think about. But okay, guys, well, we have talked about 3 things that Elena wished she knew before moving to Loveland. I think these are all things you have to consider when choosing your forever home. If you have any questions, feel free to comment down below. We'll also put the phone number back in. We are answering your calls every single day. We love it. Thank you so much for watching, and until next time.
Bye, guys. I'm starting the whole thing.
If you're new to our channel, you are Nope. Oh, Lord. Questions, we are always answering those phone calls for you. No.
Yeah, you are, though. The next thing that we're going to talk about...
And I'm done with that one.
Done with perception?
Hold on, I have to sneeze so bad. I was trying to wait for you to finish the sentence. Bless you. Ha! I don't want Peter to put this in the...
Oh, that's hiccups. That's a good idea. Just cover it up.
I know, now he can't. Well, he can put that in there. Go, you can do it.